We know you can't get enough of your favorite flavors. Luckily, Kroger Free Pickup makes it easy to grab what you need without any surprise fees. Whether it's extra buns for the barbecue or those chips you just can't quit, start your cart with the Kroger app. Kroger, fresh for everyone. $35 order minimum. Restrictions may apply. Subject to availability.
Get more ways to save at the Buy 5 or More Save $1 each sale. Just buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Planning what to wear for a wedding? Look your best while you enjoy the big day with Indochino. Every Indochino piece is made to your measurements, and you can customize details like fabric, lapel shape, linings, and more. Suits start just $429 and shirts from $89. Perfect your big day look with Indochino. Get $50 off a purchase of $399 or more with code BIGDAY at Indochino.com. That's $50 off $399 or more at INDOCHINO.com. Code BIGDAY.
Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to Infertile AF, the podcast. This is episode 169 called Jaycee Gossett.
Hello, everybody. This is Allie and Blair, the co-founders of Fertility Rally, and we are here to tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and how we can support you on your infertility journey.
So we wanted to let you know that Fertility Rally is the membership group that we created. It's the place we wish we had when we were in the thick of it. We offer support groups. We have private Facebook groups. We have tons of events, lots of videos, blog posts, so much content. We're starting to do IRL events as well. And we want to be there for you no matter where you are on your journey.
Yeah, our favorite part, we had no idea where this would go when we started it. And our favorite part about it is watching all of our members, which is like 300 plus at this point, connect and create true lifelong friendships. We have members that are meeting up in real life. We have members that are supporting each other on Instagram. We have members that call each other best friends now. And honestly, like that is the most rewarding thing to see. We had no idea it would go here. And so we're inviting you to join the Rally fam.
Yeah, it's such a great space. It's a safe space. We also have fun when we can. So we would love for you to be a part of it. Check us out on fertilityrally.com and on Instagram at fertilityrally. Hope to see you guys soon.
Today's episode is presented by Belly. Belly offers modern prenatal vitamins optimized for fertility, prenatal, and post-pregnancy health. To learn more about how to optimize your fertility and pregnancy health, check out their vegan-friendly, dairy-free, non-GMO vitamins for both men and women at bellybaby.com. That's spelled BELIBABY.com. The best part, if you use code ALLIE15, you'll get 15% off your first month of either Belly Women or Belly Men. Again, that's code ALLIE15, ALI15, for 15% off. Thanks, Belly. You guys, this is such a good episode. I'm so excited for you to listen to it. Today, I am talking to Jaycee Gossett, who is a founding teacher and VP of training at the class. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the class, but this is something that I did virtually at the very beginning of the pandemic, and I still do it today. It's a workout that strengthens your physical, mental, and emotional well-being through an innovative combination of fitness and mindfulness. But it basically is just fucking awesome. You're like pounding on the floor. The music is amazing. You're dancing. You're doing like burpees, which are not my favorite, I have to say, but you get such a really good workout. And Jaycee is basically a rock star in the wellness world. And today she is going to tell us all about her infertility journey, which she is still in the midst of. But she's also going to tell us about something really, really cool that's happening at the class. It's happening right now this week, and it will continue to go on. You can stream it. They're doing a fertility series, which I think is really, really awesome and important. And the series that they're running includes conversations and meditations and no-impact workouts that support you no matter where you are in your journey. So they've got, 1 in 3 of the teachers at the class have faced fertility challenges. They also have these great meditations that will help you like move energy and regulate your nervous system. And then they've got a toned down, no impact version of the class that doesn't include jumping and extreme twisting. So it goes all week and beyond. And you can find out more at theclass.com. And definitely check out Jaycee's classes as well. She is one of the teachers that is doing this incredible fertility series. So I want to thank Jaycee for talking to me. I love the class. I love her. She also, guys, we'll talk about this in our conversation, but she also did a Fertility Rally Live afternoon reset for us, which was fucking awesome. So thank you to Jaycee. And without further ado, this is Jaycee's infertility story. All right. So I am so honored, Jaycee, to have you on my show today. I've been really, really looking forward to this conversation for weeks since it was scheduled. So thank you so much for taking the time. As everybody knows, and I've said in the intro, you are a master instructor at the class and you've done many other amazing things. I personally love the class. And in the beginning of the pandemic, it was like my huge outlet. I did it in my apartment and was like screaming and pounding the floor, and it was so wonderful. And I also want to thank you for doing a reset video at our recent Fertility Rally Live. It was so well received. Everyone loved it, and it was just wonderful. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Isn't it great to have somewhere where you can scream and pound the ground?
100%. It was exactly what I needed. And I still, go back to it. And it's just I know so many women who are such fans of what you guys are doing over there. And you have a fertility series coming up, which we'll get into later. But first, let's start with your story. I'd love to hear, you posted recently you've been vocal about your fertility journey, you and your husband. And one of the things I said, I wanted to read part of your caption was that you said, career was always the focal point and my independent seeing nature took me on many journeys around the world. Like many women, most of my life, I tried not to get pregnant. And I think so many of us start in that place before we find ourselves in the midst of infertility. So what did that look like for you?
Yeah, it's so drilled into us, right? I mean, from as long as I can remember, all the conversations around fertility were just like, don't have sex. If you have sex, it's safe sex. Be really afraid. If you sneeze, you can get pregnant.
100%.
So the conditioning was just, this is really easy. It's something that every female identifying body can do. So you should spend all your time worrying about it not happening. So much of that information really, I mean, you're young and you're impressionable and you're hearing it from all of the authority figures. You're hearing it from the people in school. If you, in particular, like information in church, your parents, teachers. So it's information, your doctors. So it really stuck with me and resonated with me. And in my life, as I was forming into adulthood, I didn't have that scenario where I met somebody right away that was like the one or the person that I wanted to have a family with. I was working on being self-sufficient, earning income and trying to design a life that was based around taking care of myself. And the conversations around, okay, everybody, so society and the way that we live our lives is changing. People are getting married potentially later or not getting married at all. People are having children or maybe not having children in the conventional, traditional way much later. Education, career, all of these things started to shape differently for us in our lives. However, as one doctor told me very early in my fertility journey, while all of that is progressing and evolving and changing, our reproductive systems are still the same. They are the ancient, incredible, yes, to be revered systems that are in ourselves. However, they're not getting the memo and updating. Your ovaries aren't updating. Your eggs aren't
100%.
updating. Your uterus isn't updating. None of that is updating, although your life may be. So what I'm so passionate about in sharing my story and what we're doing at the class with the Fertility Series is creating some type of bridge to help anybody that wants to plan for a family and focus on fertility in whatever way that works for you, but some type of bridge of our bodies are still operating on this in this way that is ancient, and our lives are starting to look this other way. And then how do we connect that in a way that is helpful, but also makes you feel empowered about the steps you're taking to build what you want. So I met my husband, let's see, in the fall, we're going on our 10-year anniversary. We met on Match. This was before Tinder. This is before a lot of the other apps. I've never done online dating. We met. I dated a bunch of other people on Match. What I actually did was I did a 30-month experiment, a 30-day experiment, 1 month.
Okay.
Let me just go on a bunch of dates and see who I connect with. He was number 6 out of 13 people I connected with in 1 month.
Okay.
We went on a second date. We went on a third date. And then as our relationship blossomed, we did have conversations. Do you want to have a family? Yes. Are you interested in building a family? Yes. I had no history in my family of anybody struggling with fertility. So just like it wasn't on my radar at all.
Same.
Until we found ourselves in the position in my late 30s where we just decided to stop trying to not get pregnant.
Right. So had you been on birth control?
I had been on birth control earlier in my early adulthood, and I was on all different types of birth control and never worked for me. I mean, it worked in preventing me from getting pregnant in that regard, but it didn't make me feel good. I learned much later in life that I'm hormone sensitive, estrogen sensitive, and actually, thank goodness, I had the intuition to not be on it, because throughout my fertility journey, I've actually learned that I'm high risk for breast cancer. And so estrogen exposure and hormone exposure is something that I have to be monitored around.
Gotcha. Okay. So you guys were kind of started not try, like in that mode, right?
Yeah.
Like
just kind of
having
all right,
fun
we're
with
not
it,
gonna
thinking, and with the, Jaycee, with what you were saying before, your knowledge, and I'm the same exact way. It was like getting pregnant so easy, like don't get pregnant. So when my husband and I started to try as well, I was like, oh, this is going to be a step. Like you just have sex and like it happens.
That's it. The sperm meets the egg. That's
right.
what happens.
So what happened with you guys?
Well, nothing happened. That was the thing. Nothing happened. Time went by. Nothing happened. My mom had 5 kids. I fully admit I was in full blown denial. I was like, this is not a big thing. This is totally fine. It takes time, right? Maybe it takes time. Maybe, we just need, I don't know. It's stress. It's this, it's that. And my husband was way more, he had a sense of urgency of knowing, and the forthright of knowing, like we should talk to somebody. There's something, we should just talk to somebody. And then I had all of these wonderful friends that had gone through IVF, had fertility struggles, that were further along on the journey, that sat me down and kind of had a little intervention. And we're just like, listen, we don't want you to struggle in the way that we did. Just go talk to somebody, talk to a fertility expert. And at that time, I didn't realize that over a certain age, the information I didn't have was, over a certain age, if you're not getting pregnant in a small window, like 3 months or something, or 6 months, then that's an alarm. That's like, okay, go talk to somebody, get an evaluation. So I didn't know that.
Same.
Time went by. We found ourselves at, now I think I'm like 40, 41 in a fertility office with an expert, starting to break everything down and running tests. And at that moment, the words unexplained infertility were the first time were ever spoken to me. It was the first time I had ever learned of what that word meant. And I entered into this category of unexplained infertility.
Right. So how long actually had you guys been trying before you went and found the reproductive endocrinologist? Was this CRM?
So I went on a very long journey, multiple doctors. Okay. I ended up at CCRM for all my IVF treatments, but to get there, it was maybe like 3 or 4 doctors before that.
Okay. So before you saw the first one, how long had you and your husband been trying?
So let's say it's a year and a half or something like that, with maybe a little bit longer, with it not being this like driving thing that we were really hyper focused on, but we were like, we are actively trying to do this.
Right. And how were you doing emotionally with all of this? Like, did it start to wear on you a little bit after, the months are ticking by? And, I know for me, it was like seeing friends getting pregnant so easily and, being like, wait, what the hell is going on?
That part started to happen for me when I was going through the fertility treatments. Okay. The beginning part was, like I said, I think I was really just in denial. I think I didn't have the information. And my mom had 5 kids. She had me later in life. She had my younger brother later in life. And I just was under this, I don't know, rose-colored something that it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Sure.
I'm working on my career. It's fine. We're going to be fine.
Right. And you're probably thinking, I'm so healthy in all aspects of my life. And, you're in the fitness world, the wellness world.
And that was reflected to me, which is a whole nother conversation of, you're so healthy, you're in wellness.
Right.
And I mean, all of the things people say, right? You're so feminine. You must be so fertile. I mean, things that are so funny because when you think about, it's the inside, it's not the outside.
Sure.
And you can't, infertility and fertility doesn't show itself. You don't look at somebody and say your egg count is whatever.
And it does not discriminate as well, right?
Absolutely. It does not discriminate. It doesn't matter how healthy you are. It doesn't matter. Like, you did all the things, you took all the pills, you did the right vitamins, you know, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So you get this unexplained diagnosis. And what do you do with that? What did they tell you to do? Did they give you a plan?
They gave me a plan. I went through all of the workups, right? So to determine where their blockage is, how are my ovaries? How is my uterus? How is this? How are my levels? Same with my husband, all the workup, sperm workup, everything. And they couldn't find anything. However, what they did find in this workup took my fertility journey in a kind of like a side angle, which was I had a calcification in my breast that came up on my my mammogram that turned out to be precancerous cells and something called atypical tissue. So my fertility journey in the very beginning got halted because I was going through the process of having surgery and taking all this out and making sure that I didn't have breast cancer. That then led me into having to figure out how much IVF could I do, how I need to be monitored around hormones and estrogen exposure, and what was my window. So once I went through all of that, which was a whole other emotional journey of like, wow, I'm nowhere even near getting pregnant. And this is the beginning of my journey. How fascinating. Thankfully, right. It saves lives to have that information early. And then I decided to go to I decided to try IUI first. So once we knew my husband was good and I was good, other than the fact that I was in my 40s, and when you're in your 40s, your egg quality is lower. That's just the bottom line. Yeah. And that's just what it is, period. I went through 6 rounds of IUI.
Okay.
Some of them with medication, some of them without, and I didn't have any success.
Was there a reason that you did 6? Was it like an insurance thing, or was it just kind of the number that you and your doctor, your team had come up with? Or
I was covered under insurance for some of the IUI, and those 6 IUIs were I started with one doctor and didn't have success, and then went to another doctor who didn't believe in unexplained infertility. Okay. They were like, there's no such thing as unexplained infertility. We're going to figure out what the thing is. And I was like, great, let's do it. Their approach included something that tested you for something called killer cells, which would attack maybe an embryo or in the early stages of pregnancy. So you go through these intravenous treatments to change the killer cells in your body. So after I didn't have success with the first doctor, I tried this other doctor and went this different technique of like, let's see if it's killer cells. Let's go and do the intravenous injections.
Right.
And then went with 3 IUIs with that different doctor. So that's why I ended up with 6. I tried 3 with the one doctor and then went 3 with the other.
Did they find out that you had the killer cells, or?
I did have the killer cells. I had a high count. I didn't have a really, really high count, but I had a high enough count that they wanted to treat me for it. And this is something that many women don't know about. And I wish I could explain the technology better to you.
Right.
But I have had women in my life that had success this way. They had high killer cell counts. They were treated and they had successful pregnancies.
Right. So you were probably going to see a reproductive immunologist for that stuff. Okay. So that's one factor that I had no idea about as well that comes into play was, sometimes the immunology is what's preventing people from getting pregnant or staying pregnant or even implantation. Yeah. So it's like a whole new world, right? Where you're like, what I mean, had you even heard of killer cells before?
No,
Yeah.
I was like, this sounds like a movie.
I know.
What are we talking about? I have cells in my body that are
Right.
potentially killing sperm. And I just like you just said, nothing is really like opaque in this conversation. There's no hard, fast rules. Once you start, it's an onion. It keeps peeling. You find information. You can go to the right. You can go to the left.
Such a good analogy.
It's an ongoing, never ending.
Right.
Maybe it ends at some point, but you can just keep going in so many different ways.
It's so true. I think that was part of the hard part for me and so many other women I've talked to is like, there's so much information and there's so many different roads. And it's just, I remember thinking, I just want someone to tell me what to do. Yes. And no one would definitively tell me. It was like, well, you could do this or this. And I was like, but what should I do? Like, it's so overwhelming. So what did you do? What did you do after the 6 IUIs?
So at that point, that doctor that I was with suggested that I did move on to IVF, and this doctor did not do IVF. So I found my way to CCRM, and I spoke to a lot of people, spoke to a lot of friends, did my own research and looked at the statistics and decided that I would then proceed into the world of IVF, which I had friends that went through it. I didn't have any firsthand experience of anybody in my family or like a close friend while they were going through IVF. All of my close friends had done IVF previously. And I do also want to ground this conversation in is that I feel very privileged to have the opportunity to even attempt any of this technology. And we were very fortunate that my husband's very good friend basically offered to sponsor us in our fertility journey. And I want to say that because there are so many people struggling, and the technology is something that may never even ever be available for them. And that includes adoption, donor egg surrogacy, IVF. We know insurance only covers so much. And I hope at some point, because it is so common, that part of the healthcare system starts to come around and make it more accessible. Because if you do not, I mean, to be blunt, if you do not have the resources to do it, it's not available.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that. It's so true. Yeah.
So I went through the injection process, the egg retrieval, all of that.
How did you do on the meds and everything?
There were days that were very, very hard. And there were days that I was like, okay, I had a checklist on my refrigerator. My husband did all of the injections. He was incredible about it. Mixing the medication. I could not give the needles myself. I had a checklist on the refrigerator. I checked that injection thing off every time. It was what I was like, okay, we did this one. We check this one.
Totally.
And I wish that I had something like we're creating the Fertility Series. This is a big part of my life, and a big part of what I do and how I identify is in movement. Through all of this, I had to take an extensive period of time off, that's just what it is, right? You can't move your body in certain ways. So I was feeling the effects, not just of the medication and not just from the emotional stress and tension within myself, within my relationship with my husband, and didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't have anywhere to process that. And when you're in a partnership where the two of you are going through these type of challenges, you're having a shared experience, but you're also having your own experience. And sometimes you need to process your experience separately, because my wounds and my experience and what's coming up for me was and is different than my husband's. So that was one thing that I felt.
Planning what to wear for a wedding? Look your best while you enjoy the big day with Indochino. Every Indochino piece is made to your measurements, and you can customize details like fabric, lapel shape, linings, and more. Suits start just $429 and shirts from $89. Perfect your big day look with Indochino. Get $50 off a purchase of $399 or more with code BIGDAY at Indochino.com. That's $50 off $399 or more at INDOCHINO.com. Code BIGDAY.
I totally agree with that. And I have to tell you too, so on my podcast, that's why I started my podcast, because I needed somewhere to process and I wanted something that could help other people get through it after I came out the other side. And there's an episode, on the first episode, I tell my story. And then in the 100th episode, my husband tells his story. So tying back to what you were just saying, he had a totally different experience than I did, even though we were going through, the same thing.
You're going through a shared experience, but it is kicking up different things.
So what were you and Adam, like, what were your different experiences, kind of broad strokes?
So for me, I come from a large family. And when you come from a large family, there are certain things, I personally, for me, I wanted to have a family. I didn't want to have a huge family. I saw my mom struggle a lot with raising so many kids and focusing on that. And, she didn't focus on career. Those kind of things weren't available for her at that time. So there was becoming a mother and having a child was wrapped in a bunch of different things for me. Did I want it? Yes. Was there fear? Yes. Was there patterning of what I witnessed and projecting projecting onto myself of how am I going to have career and all of this together? All of that was wrapped up into me in this pressure of everyone's looking at me, waiting for me to do this. And if I can't, then I am a failure as a female identifying person and someone in the wellness world, in the health world. For my husband, his experience that he shared with me, my parents also went through divorce, but his parents went through divorce much younger. And his relationship with his parents, with that severed interjection, created a desire and need for him to want to basically have his own family, to create what he didn't necessarily have. And becoming a father for him was at the forefront and is at the forefront of his life trajectory. So while we were both going through this and grieving, we were grieving similar things, but we were grieving different narratives.
So interesting. And the way that you said that was so succinct. Thank you for explaining that. So what happened next in your journey? So you're going down the IVF road. You did the first retrieval.
I did the first egg retrieval. I got, I want to say I got 13 eggs. Out of those 13 eggs, only maybe 9 of them were viable. Okay. And this is also new information because you wake up from anesthesia and the first thing you hear is how many eggs you got. And so you're like, wow, 13, that's great.
13 babies.
Baby.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Out of those eggs, what they don't know are which ones are mature and which ones will eventually grow viable embryos. So every day the clock is ticking and those eggs potentially don't work out. So you're waiting. You find out how many are viable. Then out of those, let's say, I think it was like 9 or something like that, they then are joined with the sperm, with Adam's sperm, to try and make embryos. So out of those 9, we ended up with 4 that were able to form embryos. Okay. Those 4 embryos were sent to genetic testing, and then none of them were viable after genetic testing. So when you end up with the 4, thank you for saying that. When you end up with the 4, you're thinking, we got 4 embryos. This is amazing. Genetic testing takes a long time, and not everybody believes in genetic testing. I felt that was the route we should go. And then you're just waiting. And then, they all came back abnormal. Mm-hmm. So we went to round 2, kind of similar, but less eggs, less embryos, only 2 that time. Genetic testing came back, none of them viable.
Oh my gosh. How did it feel to get that news after the second round? I mean, it's a blow every time, right?
It's a blow every time because of course you want to be positive, and of course you're staying optimistic, and you're seeing the eggs and the embryos. I mean, you're not seeing them with your eyes, right? But you know that those exist.
Right.
So you just think, okay, well, we've got them. So why wouldn't they be good?
100%. Yep. Yeah.
And every time, for anybody that has gone through it, it's taking a toll on your body. It's taking a toll on your heart. It's taking a toll on your mind and your spirit, and your relationship is getting very stressful, very tense. There's the financial aspect to it. There's the, everyone, Jaycee, your clock's ticking. What are you going to do? What's going to happen here? Are you going to do this again? And
pressure. Yeah.
I'm taking a significant amount of time off work. Thankfully, all of that was supportive in my company, but it is also another thing that you're navigating.
Of course. Yeah.
And my body it shifts and it changes. And so when we had that last conversation of like, okay, we're just going to try one more time. We're going to do this IVF one more time. Every time they adjusted my medication slightly different. They tried different techniques. My doctors were really advocating for like a very personalized experience for me based off of how I was performing,
right?
for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And when people ask me what this is like, I have these two analogies. One of them is like, you're going to a car dealership with a bag of cash or a check, and you're saying, see that car over there? That's the car that I want.
Right.
And then you leave the cash or the check with the car dealership,
right,
and you walk out not knowing if you are ever going to get that car.
Absolutely.
Or you're going to a roulette table and it's the same thing. My
100%.
number's 8. I'm going to put everything on 8. We're just going to sit at this table. We're going to spin the wheel. We have no idea if this is going to hit or not.
Right. It is. It's such a gamble. And there's no guarantees. I think that's another thing that a lot of people in the world like you and I know that now, having gone through it, but a lot of people on the outside world, I feel like, don't know that IVF is not a guarantee.
No,
we had one of our fertility rally members the other day had gone to an exercise class and told her instructor, like, I'm starting IVF and I was cleared to work out and I'm so excited. And they were like, congratulations. And she was kind of like, I don't know if you understand what I'm going through, and you can't fault them, but
no, because
people think, oh, cool. That means you're going to have a baby.
Right. You're going to do this procedure and it's going to work. Yeah. And it's amazing technology. I mean, when you start to understand what it is, and they're taking the eggs out and then they're putting the sperm and the egg together and then they're growing it. It's like the whole thing is just incredible, but it's just not 100% guaranteed.
Exactly.
I think in for my age and my egg quality and everything, I think my percentage was like maybe 40% chance.
Okay. So you did the third round. Is that where we're at?
Did the third round.
Okay.
And that was the least performing one for me. So like very low eggs and 0 embryos. None.
Okay.
So I never got to a place where I had a embryo to transfer. I've never been to the transfer stage yet.
Okay. So how long ago was this third round?
Third round we completed in the summer. So coming up on, I think that was like around August.
Okay. So then after that, did you have a conversation with your husband and to kind of decide, like, are we going to keep going? Or there's other options, or like, where did it go with you guys from there?
We had the conversation at that point. My body was really giving me very loud feedback. It just was like, I just don't think I can do this again. And, my brain was like, you got to keep trying. You got to keep going. My body was just really feeling the effects. And emotionally, I didn't think I was able to do it again. I really, when you go through it, and then the people in your life, my friends that have done 5 rounds, 6 rounds, 7 rounds, even 1 round, it's just so incredible. It's really incredible that there is this resilience in one to undertake such a challenging experience and continue with the faith and the belief and the resilience to keep going. But for me, my conversation in my fertility shifted to a place of potentially having silent endometriosis, which was something that I wasn't tested for.
Oh,
so I went into another rabbit hole, another layer of the onion of understanding the world of silent endometriosis. And if that was potentially something that could be hindering my process, because you can't see it. You can't see it on a scan. You can't see it in, and you can have silent symptoms, which is why it's called that. So
did they find anything?
I had a test called a Receptiva Test, which came up as a high inflammation. However, I will say that was also, they do that test right after the egg retrieval, which is, the last thing you want is anything else in that area of your body. After that. And it was very high. So specifically what I've learned, or what I've been educated around with silent endometriosis, is the only way to really guarantee that you have it is through a diagnostic surgery. So I had planned that surgery, laparoscopic surgery, for November. I knew that I was already we were going to move to LA. And my conclusion for myself was, this is the last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do the surgery. And then I'll know for sure that this is what I have or not. If they find it, they take it out. If not, you try something else. But I had that feeling of, this is the last thing. So unfortunately, I found a surgeon, all the things, met with a lot of different people. The situation for myself was I planned the surgery in August. I showed up in November, and with COVID, the hospitals have different policies around when your COVID test is supposed to be. And they had gotten the wires were crossed in the communication for me. So I took my COVID test on the wrong date. However, I didn't know that until I was getting prepped for surgery. I'm in the hospital waiting to be admitted with, in the gown and all of the things. And it turned out that my date for my COVID test that I was given to take was the wrong date. So my husband and I were in that hospital, waiting to have the IV admitted for inserted for the anesthesia. And we were just, had to leave. We're just God, we're walking out of here after planning months for the surgery.
Oh, were you devastated?
I was in shock. My husband was not happy. He had lots to say.
I'm sure.
Bless him. And I was in shock, but I have to say, I was like, I have to start looking at these things as a sign. Like what is happening here right now? What is the information here for me? I knew my body was it just needed a break. It just was like, it's just a lot. Now we're going to go have surgery. Now we're going to be out for 6 weeks again and have to recover. So in that moment, I was like, I'm just going to take a pause from this, and I'm going to look at other conversations. And these conversations currently for us include adoption, talking to people that have adopted and seeing what the financials are around all of that. It's to ground this conversation. The desire to have a family is one part, but then the ability to, and the resources to be able to do this in this way where you need support is another it's a big part of the conversation. So adoption, a donor egg, which if I have silent endometriosis, that probably wouldn't be a good viable option for me. And if there was a way where surrogacy could be an option, that could be something to talk about. I mean, it's a big amount of resources for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you said, it's good to know that there are options, but they aren't available for everyone. So thank you for your sensitivity to that and knowing that. Before we wrap, I have a bunch more questions, but I know we just have a couple more minutes. I'd love to hear about this series that you're doing with the class. Tell me why this fertility series is so important to you.
It's so great that we're at this place with the class where we're able to create this content that is using the method of what we do, and then having it be supportive in a conversation and centered around a conversation that can help with healing. So with the class, if you're listening and you've never done the class before, what we're a cathartic, challenging workout that combines strength training, cardio, and mindfulness that is all designed to really help us feel better. You don't need anything except your mat. What it looks like on the outside is exercise. You see us doing jumping jacks. You see us doing push-ups. You see us doing burpees. What we are passionate about is what happens on the inside when you are moving in the way that we do with breath and with music, and how we are directing our intent and intention.
Mm-hmm. And you have the best music always.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
Yes, it's so true. You can tell a lot of thought goes into that.
A lot goes into the curated music journey
100%.
that goes on, that helps once we begin moving the processing of this energy. And what we are moving is experiences, memories, passed on energy, thoughts, patterning, things that are on the more of the subtle level, but that create huge impact in our lives. Mm-hmm. So we're taking the method, and we've put this series together, which is backed by CCRM Fertility and IVF Clinic, to help support the process for anybody that is going on the fertility journey and whatever they're experiencing. So what they can come and experience is a collection of conversations. We have 1 in 3 teachers at the class have faced their own fertility challenges, and they're here to share their stories so that people do not feel alone and feel the shame that is attached with this. So we have 5 teachers that are taking you through their story via conversation. What's special about this is that you're going to hear 5 different teachers taking you through their fertility experience via conversation, meditation, and a no impact movement class.
Yeah. So great.
So great. And we've partnered with leading experts so that everything that we're talking about, everything that we're moving the body through, and conversations we're opening and inviting, we've made sure to make sure with our fertility doctors and the experts that these practices are emotionally supportive and physically in alignment with what is best. The 5 teachers that are going to take you through their journey are Tia Spowert, and her theme is finding acceptance on her journey. Brooke Roth, which is letting it be messy, is her theme. Mine is working with grief. Mm-hmm. Moving from shame to empowerment is with CJ Fragoso. And listening to my body is Laura Camilleri. So incredible. 1 in 3 teachers at the class have gone through a fertility challenge, and they're here to take you through their experience with this theme and open energy and space through meditation, conversation, and a no impact class.
I think it's so important to come at it from the way that you guys have created this obviously very thoughtful, very curated series, which is, it's a whole body, whole mind thing. It's not just one thing. And it takes so much work, and it takes so much self-care. And that's one thing I think that does really get lost in this journey a lot is, you get on this track and you've got these blinders on, and, you're like, I need a baby, need a baby, need a baby. And I did this myself. And you kind of forget to step back every once in a while and check in with yourself. And if you have a partner, to check in with your partner and say, why are we doing this? What do we want? Do we still want this? And kind of reassessing, what the goal is. And that goal can change, depending on how it's going. So I think it's so awesome that you guys are doing this groundbreaking series. I can't wait to be a part of it. I can't wait to, spread the word. And I hope everybody listening will check out the class and this incredible series. I'll put a lot more information in the show notes and in the outro and intro. But before we wrap, Jaycee, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time. And this has been such a pleasure to talk to you. Tell me if there's anybody who's listening right now who might be kind of new to this world, maybe they take your class and they're new to this podcast, so they don't really know. Do you have any words, just somebody that might be like in the shit right now, like something that you might want to say to someone?
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for giving me that opportunity. I mean, the words that I just want to keep echoing out there are, you are not broken. You are not broken. You are not less of a human. You are not less of a female identifying being. You are not less of a mother. You already are a mother. We already are all mothers. We already are bringers of life and vitality and nurturing relationships. And whatever it is that you're going through, whatever it is the diagnosis, it does not define you. That is not who you are. It is not going to be the headline of your life. It's something that we're going to work with. It's something that is not going to be easy. I'm not here to tell you it's rainbows and unicorns, because we know it's not. However it is that you decide to create your unique family, which may include children, it may not include children, it is going to be beautiful. It's going to be so different. It's going to be unique, and it's going to be just as satisfying, just as beautiful, just as wonderful.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much to Jaycee. I will continue to follow her story, and you guys should too as well. Definitely check out this fertility series that they have curated for the class. You can find out more at theclass.com, and also definitely check out Fertility Rally. You can go to our website, which is fertilityrally.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Fertility Rally. We are a community where no matter what you're going through, we want to support you. So this all goes hand in hand with the fertility series that the class is doing. So much great support out there right now. So please take advantage of any and all of it. If you have any questions whatsoever, reach out to me, slide into my DMs at InfertileAF Stories, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks.